Hey, today I'm talking about three iconic 1970s Bruce Lee films. And the names of those three movies are Enter the Dragon, The Way of the Dragon, and Fist of Fury. First up is Enter the Dragon. This is a 1973 film that's technically a sequel to The Way of the Dragon, but I don't think that really matters. I watched this one last and I definitely liked it the most. As I talk about it, I'm going to kind of compare it to the other ones, even though I haven't talked about them yet. Because just like, it does so many things better than the other two. Like, the action is definitely the best in this one. The other ones have a lot of like kind of more cheesy shots. Like this one does do like a couple POV shots, but the other ones have more stuff like that. The action just feels more intense and it's easier to follow. It's really satisfying as well. I really loved the characters, in particular the ones played by John Saxon and Jim Kelly. They were really interesting and really fun, and they added a nice dynamic to the movie, especially like just kind of playing off of the stoicism and intensity that is Bruce Lee. It also just looked the best. The bad guy is just a Bond villain, complete with a Bond villain layer, but I'm okay with that because the plot is basically just a Bond villain plot. This rich guy invites a bunch of martial artists to his island for a tournament, but maybe there's something more evil going on. And like, I do enjoy that era of Bond films, so that probably added to my enjoyment of the film. It was definitely a bit slow in the start, but once it got going, I definitely enjoyed myself. So yeah, I think if you're gonna watch just one of these, I would say do this one. It definitely lives up to the hype, and it's well worth a watch. Next up is The Way of the Dragon. This is a 1972 film, and the basic premise is this Chinese restaurant in Italy is having some problems with a local gang. And so they call for their cousin or whatever to help them solve this issue. And he does, but also kind of makes things worse because, you know, violence begets violence. And it's decent. The action's definitely good, and I think the premise is definitely interesting enough. I don't know if they really held it all together all that well. Like, it was a bit stretched thin, that like had the movie been a bit shorter and more intense, I could have enjoyed it more. It did kind of feel just like repetitive too, because it was just like the bad guys send some bad guys. If Bruce Lee's there, he beats them up. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And then maybe he'll show up and then he does beat them up. And it's just like, okay, all right. The action was decent and I was definitely entertained, but I don't know. It didn't really grab me as much as Enter the Dragon did. I feel like the characters didn't really stand out as much. I think like had the employees of the restaurant had more personality to them instead of just kind of being like a conglomerate of people, that could have added a bit more. Or if like they just had like their own little stories going on, like, oh, one of them's trying to ask out this girl and can't do something about it and is struggling. And one wants to, you know, become a chef, but he's just a waiter, and how can he make that jump? You know, stuff like that would have been just a nice fun like way to break up the going back and forth of everything. Would I recommend it? I mean, it's not bad. I wouldn't discourage someone from watching this film, but if you were gonna watch just one, I would say just watch The Way of the Dragon. I liked it a lot more. Again, this isn't bad, it's just like, I don't know, the other one's just like a nice step up, so yeah. And lastly is Fists of Fury. This is a 1972 film, and the basic premise is this martial artist's master mysteriously dies. He believes that it was actually this rival gang that did it. So he just spends the movie just being a mad bulldog, constantly attacking them and being really angry. He is right, they didn't do it, but like, it's just, he's so much in this. Like he's just from the get-go, he's like, all right, they did it, let's get him. And it makes everything worse, like him just being all angry and stuff. What I really wish would have happened is kind of more of building so that we could be angry with him. Because he kind of starts off at like a 9, and there's not a lot of room to go from a 9 to a 10. I still liked it. I still enjoyed it enough. I just wasn't that impressed by it. I do think the action was interesting, but not exactly what I was hoping for. Like, if I'm being really honest, I was hoping for something more akin to like Rumble in the Bronx or Yes Ma'am, and this didn't reach those heights by any means. The action set pieces are kind of just straight kung fu fighting and not a lot of like other stuff going on. So yeah, it was fine. Would I recommend it? It's not bad, but I just think his other work is so much more interesting and easier to relate to that I would steer someone towards one of his other films rather than this one. Though it's not a bad experience if you do choose to watch it. So yeah, that's what I'll say. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Enter the Dragon, sitting number 85 in the quite-like section. And then after that is The Way of the Dragon, sitting at number 97 in the liked section, right on the line. And then bringing up the rear, very middle of the road, is Fist of Fury, sitting at number 112, again in the liked section. And this is a total of 150 old movies so far this year.